Money is very, very valuable. Anybody who tells you it's not important is lying. But also realize that money in and of itself is retail success. It's the retail version of success. It's like the movie that's like, the couple is arguing, and then, Matthew McConaughey chases the girl down New York City, down a highway when she's in a taxi, and then they fall in love and they get married, and they live happily ever after. But what's happily ever after? That's the joy of life. It's what actually comes day to day. So what I'd like you to do is I'd like you to challenge yourself to begin to set up your life in such a way that you can create these depth-based moments, these magical-based moments. And I'm also going to ask you another question. Why is it that typically you're not going to hear a ton about this from public speakers? Do you want to know what it is? Spiritually elevating people doesn't sell. And I'm going to tell you the sad truth why. Because when you take somebody from being in a taker state into a fulfilled state, it is initially such an improvement for them that they don't want to buy anything. Now, later, from the state that I'm talking about, you want to buy everything because you're in a flow state, you're world class at your craft, you wind up getting paid a lot for that, and you want to buy a lot of stuff. I love spending money. But when you're new to it, it's almost like if you're in a frigid cold and then you go to lukewarm, and it's like, hey, do you want to go to the hot area? It's like, no, I'm good here, right? It's like, no, but there's even hotter here. I'm good. Now, once you understand that, this is where you understand that I'm pro-capitalist for the simple reason I don't want to be told what to do. That in and of itself. But understand that capitalism has its own warped, distorted problems with it. So I'm pro-capitalist, but I will rip apart capitalism like the best communist you've ever seen. Like, you can put me up there with some weird, crazy communist, and I'll tear apart capitalism better than he does, even though I'm a capitalist. So I just think communism is worse. It's like, choose your poison, is all I think. So coming from that, I'm a freedom-oriented person. So coming from that standpoint, one of the problems with capitalism is that it incentivizes for things that involve money rather than what necessarily will help you. This is the really, really big element of it. And this is another big thing that they'll teach you in things like mentoring. If you actually offer the solution, then what winds up happening is the people get scared, okay? Because their mind is inhabited by a parasite, and because the mind has an energetic parasite on it, to give the actual solution scares the parasite, and it makes them run away from the solution. So an example would be in the old dating content, there was this thing, it was this crazy ad, it was called the dick magnet, okay? And it was like, you're gonna put a magnet on your dick, and you just sit there, and then people are gonna jump on the dick magnet. And that's what they used to say. This thing did so much money. Okay, it was called Pandora's Box. It did so much money. And the reason why was because A, the concept of a magnet is that you don't have to change. So people like that. But B, it's a cartoon ad. And in a cartoon ad, it's walking. This is very subtle, I'm going to tell you, but if you could understand it, it could change your life. The cartoon ad, you deep down know is not going to be effective. You deep down know it. You know when you get that. Come on. What idiot is like, the magnet? And really thinks something's going to happen. But there's different parts of the brain, because there's the parasite, but then there's also the part of the mind that kind of does want to improve. So it's kind of like lightly speaking to the part of the mind that wants to improve. And it's like, oh, I'll get that. Yeah, the magnet. Yeah. Kind of like if you were to actually watch the watch time on that product, probably had like a 3% watch time. Probably people bought it, they never even looked at it. But it's sort of satisfied this impulse, like, I kind of want that. That kind of sounds cool, but deep down I know nothing's going to actually happen, so now I'm going to get it. You see what's going on there? Real change is savage, okay? Like, remember my old videos? When it was all laid out, you remember those? And who has ever seen those? It was all, there's nothing left of the imagination there. Nothing left of the imagination. It's like, hey, idiot, here it is. All here for you. Go. Right? And the parasite's like, right? That's why you're not going to see that level of content get hyper popular. The fact that we actually took that to like 300K views, 500K views back in the day, content of that level paradigm is unheard of. You would rarely see that level of content elevating like that. So understand that, like, what you believe you want is not necessarily what you want. You think you want it, you don't. Your mind is deceiving you. Your mind is messing with you in ways that you can't even begin to understand. Here's the best way that I could put this to you. Right now, it would take you 5 basic changes to completely change your life. But you will never do it. You will never do it. It would be 5 changes, maybe 10, 20 at the worst, probably 5. but you'll never do it. Okay, let me give an example. Let's say there's like a great, beautiful piece of classical literature. Now, if I put that in front of you, obviously I get it that it does require a little bit more brain power and it does require a little bit more attention span. But if that piece of literature genuinely would change you, like reading that would change your life, you will find yourself massively resisting reading it. You will resist reading it. It will freak you out. You will literally avoid looking at this no matter what. You'll keep avoiding looking at it because you don't resonate with that level of success. See, books like The Secret or Law of Attraction are like simultaneously the biggest BS ever peddled and the most real thing ever peddled. It's very rare in life you see something that much BS and that real at the same time. Like that fake and real simultaneously. My big beef with Law of Attraction is they use the word always. They're like high vibration always creates high vibration. Low vibration always creates, like, no, I can think of a lot of low vibration things that created high vibe things, okay? And that's just reality. There's exceptions to every rule, but they try to make it like this law that can never be broken. Perhaps I'm wrong. I studied 20 years, but honestly, I could be wrong. I'm not God. I couldn't tell you for sure, but that's my personal opinion. So I find people with Law of Attraction, they drive me crazy because they always want to use me as the thing they manifested. Like, I'm always the thing they manifested, right? It's like some lazy person who doesn't want to put in the work, and they're like, I use the Law of Attraction to manifest you. And it's like, you went through nightmare hell for 20 years to build this, and I'm going to co-opt it. Thanks, manifested. Yes. Like, this happens to me. I walk down the street, people think they manifested me. They start taking photos. I'm like, what does it matter that you got a photo with me? What does it matter at all? You got my photo. You think you manifested a photo? You could have photoshopped that. It's a cool experience, I guess, but you could have it's literally nothing. Or, you know, different teachers will come along and they don't want to spend the decades to build an audience, and then they just want me to build it. They want to jump in. They think they manifested it. It's like, it's the biggest excuse to be lazy I've ever seen. It's super being at the effect, not being at the cause. And yet, the idea of Law of Attraction is real in my view insofar that you can only perceive that which you can resonate with. You can only see an opportunity that you resonate with. In other words, if you go to somebody who's homeless and you show them a way out of homelessness, they typically, not always, and I'm sensitive to this, but typically cannot resonate with it. They will not be able to resonate. What I originally created, the content that I did, and I really put myself out there, you know, to really lay it out in, let's just say, non-ambiguously. We'll just use the word non-ambiguous, like it was all the real life laid out right there. And I knew all the headaches this would do, but I wanted people to know the truth. And so when I did that, I thought initially that people who didn't get it were instantly going to see that and immediately be so excited and change their lives. That's what I believed. Didn't change the ratio at all. In fact, if anything, having it laid out like that further frustrated people, because now it's even more so their own fault if they don't take action, and they will go deeper and deeper into darkness and rationalization not to see it. So that is where this idea of like the dick magnet comes in, where you think that your mind is perceiving reality correctly. It's not. You think that you're in control of yourself. You're probably not. You think that you're operating under your own will. You're probably not. I promise you, I'm not entirely yet, and I've spent years focusing on this, and I'm not. So just realize that, okay? You're not operating off your own will. You're not operating off your own discernment. You lack the ability to connect to your own flow state independently, which means you still need things to get in a flow state, which makes you a drug addict. Makes you a drug addict. Drugs are just the most extreme example, but it's still an addiction to drugs, and it still has very, very similar effects, even if it's not a drug, okay? Has very, very similar effects. The cumulative effects of certain habits that you have, while not being as immediate and obvious as like meth or crack cocaine, cumulatively will blow you apart. How do we know this? Look at the average 40-year-old. Look at the average 50-year-old. Derpy, trapped in their head, weird, negative, contracted, can't joke with them, can't bring them to a party, lost their passion for life. What happened? They had the life sucked out of them, sucked right out. And now they can only resonate with more of this trash. So a lot of what it is that I'm talking to you about here, as far as this idea of endless motivation, the idea of being unstoppable, is actually getting to the point where you resonate with real success. And real success is what you call the narrow road. Say the word, the narrow road. Narrow. Okay? Do you remember the quote from the Bible? Who here remembers it? Narrow is the gates that leads to destruction. You guys remember this? Yeah. What's the rest of the quote?
Wide is the gate.
Wide is the, yes, thank you. Wide is the gate. Wide is the gate. Okay, wide is the gate that leads to destruction. Narrow is the road that leads to life. In other words, there is a million dumb things that you can look at in a given day, and there's like 5 that are good. The rest is garbage. It's all garbage. 99.9% plus of what's coming at you is literally you being invaded. It's you being invaded by companies, ideologies, people, paradigms, and energies that want to suck you dry of your time. They want your attention. They want you to play ping pong with them with that energy. In reality, if right now you just picked 5 things and you did those religiously again and again and again, your life would be dramatically different, okay? For example, let's say that you just studied basic classic marketers. Could be Dan Kennedy and John Carlton. And you studied that for 3 to 4 hours a day. Do you understand how much cash you would have within a couple of years if you actually studied that and applied it? It is ludicrous. It's so crazy how much cash you'd have. You would be having money hand over fist. I have done 12-minute videos that will do around $1 million in sales. Boom! Because I just studied that for like 2-3 years when I was in my mid-20s. Think about that for a minute. All your little problems, all your little whining, all your little victimhood, all your little crap. And you could have $1 million in 12 freaking minutes if you studied. I'm not guaranteeing that, okay? Results not guaranteed. Not even my stuff. Not even saying my stuff. I learned from them. But look at that. Look at the losers who sit there whining over their ex or sit there whining over who they can't meet. What if they just followed the basic instructions that were given in real-life interaction footage that I went to hell to get for you? And also enjoyed a lot of the process too, but you know my point, the issues around that. All you have to do is just go do it. But you can't. You can't. Think about the basic foods that you could eat that would give you energy. I'm not teaching this or giving medical advice. I haven't been sick in a decade. Think of all that time you spend sick. I'm not giving advice on this. I'm just sharing an anecdote of my life. Do whatever you want. I'm not a doctor. I didn't do a double-blind test. Didn't get sick for 10 years, but could be a coincidence. I used to get sick all the time, by the way. Think about this for a minute. Look at what you're doing to yourself, what you're putting in your mouth. What about the fact you will watch, a classic example I like to give that you might have heard me say before, everybody will go watch the Conor McGregor, Floyd Mayweather boxing match that isn't even, great entertainment, but isn't even a boxing match. How many of you have ever watched Muhammad Ali and George Foreman? Who here's watched Muhammad Ali versus George Foreman? Who here's ever watched Muhammad Ali versus Sonny Lipton? No. Okay. Who here saw Conor McGregor versus Floyd Mayweather? Put your hand up if you did. You see the difference there? So one fight, look, Conor, Floyd, by the way, talk about an indictment of the derp state of society. The average person is so derped out, they've heard of Conor, they've heard of Floyd, they're fighting, let's tune in. They don't realize, like Floyd's basically retired. Conor is like, you know, an MMA fighter. They put on a great show. I think it was actually cool. But I'm just making the point that you'll look at that. How many people here like have really read the great classical literatures, the great writings that have been put out that have stood the test of time? But you won't look at that. You'll look at trash. Go look at how much you stare at Instagram, TikTok. You look at straight garbage. Every minute that you spend frustrated that, you know, about your ex that left you or about who you can't get, you could have spent going out and working on social skills. But you didn't do it. Every minute. Every minute you spent sick. Every minute you spent pissed off. Every minute that you spent being a victim. Every minute you spent arguing with your significant other. Every minute. And there's maybe 5 things that you could have done. And if you would have just focused on that, you would have killed it. A big one, big one is pop culture. Pop culture is a drug. A drug functions at 2 levels. Many levels, to be honest, but I'm going to focus on 2. One of them is that it gets you high and fries your brain. But it's not just that. I'm going to give you 3 levels, actually. The other one is it wastes your time. It wastes your time. Remember that. The drug is not just functioning on a level of frying your brain. It's burning down your time. Now, by the way, the other thing that it does, but this is a little bit more advanced, but if you can follow me, you can get this. If you follow me, you can get it. You probably won't, but if you follow me, you'll get it. Be a big light bulb. Drugs, okay, if this is you, and over here is loving the process, over here is being the witness in consciousness, over here is that second birth of the soul, over here is attaching to physical pleasure, ego, social conditioning, addictions in the body and the synaptic pathways, external sense of identity, right? Think about where 99.9% of your mental capital goes. Am I cool? Am I not cool? What'd they say? I'm right. I'm in this tribe, blah, blah, blah. Or repeating things from social conditioning that you think will get you a pat on the head. Or I'm hot, I'm cold, I'm horny, I'm tired, I'm hungry. These things should be indicator lights, not something that you identify with. Say the word indicator light.
Indicator light.
Not something you identify with.
Not something you identify with.
Okay? By the way, how do you get the ultimate high? Things like the sauna, cold plunge, meditation, public speaking, going out to the bar and club, being in a flow is how you get high. But what happens is that the more that we get physical pleasure, what happens is like a vine, and the vines are all connected. Your core of who you are is always threading itself and attaching itself around something for identity and fulfillment. Say the word identity, fulfillment. So if you get high, what it does is it strengthens a connection to the physical while shrinks a connection to the spiritual. So what happens is that when you go off the drug, you are disconnected from God, and you have no divine energy sourcing into you. And now you need the drug more and more and more. That's what drugs does, while also eroding your impulse control parts of your brain and making you physically addicted. So now there's no brake. Like, it takes the brake of the car, kills the brake, and then pushes down the gas towards the substance. I've seen drug addicts, these are friends of mine, like really close, or alcoholics, where they're no longer, they're still a human in the sense that they deserve human life. I'm not dehumanizing them, but it's almost as if they're no longer a human. They're just this biological sack that wants booze. They'll lie to you. They'll say anything. They believe what they're saying. They're like, no, I will not go drink when I go down the street. I'm totally fine. That was so weird last night. Bro, don't worry about it. Little partying got out of hand. You know, and they believe it because they're unconscious. And then they say it because their biology's running. Then they go get wasted. They get drunk. And drunk for 4 or 5 days straight. They drink so much, they get alcohol poisoning. They wind up in the hospital. That's what AA is for and things like that. This is super hardcore stuff. Drugs is doing that. But in reality, drugs is just probably the most extreme version. Many, many different things also do that same kind of function on you. So you've got to be asking yourself, what are you engaging with that is causing that in you? What is causing that in me? So, and it's actually really surprisingly simple. It's like, this sounds abstract. It's really not. Meditate for 1 minute. Get present. See what that feels like. Notice how when you're in that state, you can public speak easily. Your voice shoots out, aka what I'm doing here. Can't see at home so much because it doesn't show the power of it. The mic caps it. That's not technique. It'll cap that at home. It'll be like a shotgun if I keep going louder. But it's not a technique. It's just me loose. It's me without the parasite. That's all it is. It's me without the parasite. Fun fact, which I don't know if this is caused by that or not, total fun fact, I don't get bit by bugs. Fun fact. Weird. I thought, yeah, and I really thought did you see that video of me in the redwood covered in mosquitoes recently? I thought that was gonna be, I'm like, I gotta get bit today. No bites. All my friends are bitten up. I don't know if it's some herb I'm taking or what that is. I'm going to Alaska next. What's that?
Might be your art field.
Could be, right? I don't know, but I'm going to Alaska next. That's the most bugs. So we're gonna put it. But that was a lot of bugs. You guys see that redwood thing? Weird stuff.
Here's what you think about psychedelics.
I think they're terrible. And yeah, and I lose like 2/3 of my audience by saying that because I believe it's the lazy amateur hour retail way to get there. But I lose 2/3 of my audience saying that. And there's a huge movement for that in personal growth. I speak my truth. I'm not here to argue. I'm just speaking my truth. I could be wrong. Maybe that's my own little parasite.
You never tried it.
I never have, never will, but I grew up around it in a way that's closer than I'd care to mention here. And it was not, what I saw from weed and all that when I grew up was not close to the way I see it represented on, and I love Joe Rogan so much. He's so cool. That guy's so much cooler than I am, and he's smarter than I am, and he's amazing, but I just don't get what he's saying on that one issue, and I don't have to agree with it, and that's okay. And he probably encouraged that. So, yeah, I'm not a fan. I think you can get an epiphany from it, but I think that it does. I think it's a huge epiphany that gives you a frame of reference, but I think that it doesn't ground itself in you at the level that you'd like. I know this because 80–90% of my friends are into it, and I've never met one of my friends that's more emotionally stable. I've never met one of my friends that's more resilient. They still freak out at the parking ticket. All these big epiphanies they talk about, I haven't seen them live that in real life. I'd say my one friend who's an exception is Aaron Dowdy, and he's one of the coolest guys you've met in your life. Yeah, Aaron, he makes me want to do it. I'm like, I could be like you? Maybe, okay? I could be like Aaron? I'll think about it. So, yeah, he's so cool, and he loves it. So, and he gets a lot of value. So it just depends on the person. I'm just giving my take. Look, the cool thing about psychedelics is that it would teach you that my take is okay to be different, right? That'd be a lesson from it. So no harm, no foul. Okay, now, yeah, so I don't think it's bad. I just don't think it's like, but if that becomes a way to avoid putting in the work, that's the issue, okay? So as long as you're putting in the work, go nuts, but I'd say just get to work. Now, going from there, okay, so what I'm trying to describe, what I'm trying to get across to you here is a larger, more abstract way of thinking, okay? I'm trying to get you more into abstraction here. And I'm trying to get you to realize that most of what is coming at you in society is like a drug. In other words, what are some of the main concepts of a drug? It gives on the front end and takes on the back end. Okay, say that with me. Gives on the front end, takes on the back end. Okay, so the way that you want to think about it is like a spike protein. And what it does, okay, here's the basic. How abstract do you want me to get here?
So abstract.
All the way. Go all the way, man.
Mixed opinions? I'm going to get crazy abstract.
Yo.
Might as well, right? Because I can do it. Not a lot of people can. I can, so let's do it. Okay? You can hear the more regular way from a million other sources. So I'm going to give you the midget and the donkey going at it, okay? So think of it this way, okay? In a contracted state, in a highly contracted state, awareness goes from being connected, boom, outside your head to trapped in your head, dense. That means that to source energy, the little source is tight, it's small. Right? So in other words, when you're awake, you get energy from the air, the trees, the sounds, breathing, other human beings, animals. It's all energizing you. I know that sounds weird. Okay, it's like, what does that even, like, just use your brain here. You ever had a day where just like, it was just such an awesome day and you just saw like a squirrel and you're like, this is awesome. Like, you ever have a day like that?
Yes.
That's all it is. That's all. I'm not saying anything so crazy here, okay? So that is what it means to be an expanded state. From that standpoint, you can access a transcendent state without needing, something from outside yourself. The joy of the dance is what gives you energy because you're connected to the energy of life, and the energy of life is infinite, it's expanding, and it's playful, and it exists just to dance. As weird as that sounds, it exists just to dance. All that it is it's like a screensaver with blobs that are expanding. That's how to think about it, okay? Just look at your screensaver, the expanding blobs, that's it. You nailed it. So what that means is it's this, okay, the act of creation itself. Creation exists, why? Why? Why not? It's its own thing. It exists to exist. It exists for the joy of the dance. It exists for the process itself. It exists to play. It exists to create life, new possibilities, expansion. In improv, they call it yes and. Who here's ever been in improv? Okay, the main concept in improv comedy is yes and. So someone's like, I am, a garbage man. And then you say back, yes, and you're a very funky garbage man. And then the other person says, yes, and a very funky garbage man. Getting ready to go take out that garbage, yo. And you say, yes, and you're about to go on an event, right? That's the idea of improv. That's the format for life. It's like the screensaver. It's expanding. It's growing. It exists just to exist. Why does art exist? Love, friendship, et cetera, et cetera. Beautiful experiences, the depth of life. Why? Just to exist. It's not trying to get anywhere. It's infinite. It's not trying to get anywhere. Say that. Not trying to get anywhere. Okay? Now, you'll get a natural high, some of you in this room, just from us talking about this. Is there anybody in this room right now, it's going to be a mix, who feels a natural light level high just from even talking about this? So that means that you're opening up a little bit. For the rest of you, you're like, could I just get my 3 funky tips? Okay? Now, by the way, I'm going to tell you a little secret of why I don't give the 3 funky tips anymore. Been there, done that, educated most of the community on it. Most of them are teaching my old stuff, or many of them with their own twists. We put a lot of work in there. Myself, Mystery, David D, et cetera, et cetera. We put out that info. Most people are taking and putting a twist on it. I believe in doing the thing that most people can't do. So maybe only 20% of my old community can resonate with what it is I'm talking here today, but those people will resonate deeply, and I feel that there's not a lot of other people that can do it and live it, so that's why I share this information. It's not that I can't do it, okay? It's not that I can't do it. It's that I want to expand your mind, and I want to use this to challenge you. I want to challenge your mind here. So what I'm getting at is your own level of awareness of what's driving you. Okay? So let's look at this in a pragmatic sense. If you're sitting there not feeling good, and you're sitting there wanting something or needing something, then what winds up happening is you feel a sort of like a refrigerator hum of anxiety in your body. And then you imagine this dopamine spike that you could get that would get you to feeling fulfilled and get you to know who you are. Because when your ego gets pumped up, you get dopamine from it. So you get dopamine from stimulation, and you get dopamine from winning. So that's kind of the idea of what happens, okay? So instead what you do is just go into a light level meditative state. Present to the moment, the witnessing consciousness, enjoying the process itself. It's not hard to do. Meditate for 2 minutes, you'll see it. Go to a flow state activity for 2 minutes, you'll see it. Begin to identify with that. Allow your awareness to go into that and let go of the wheel a little bit. Don't feel the need to control everything. Then what will happen is you'll see energy moving through you. Maybe you go to a nightclub and you don't need any techniques, you don't need any lines. Maybe you go to public speaking, you've got nothing prepped, and it just rips out. Maybe your voice shoots up in volume and booms through the room because you don't have all these brakes and parasites on it. Maybe your energy and vitality gets turned up. Maybe you think of multi-million-dollar business ideas because you're connected to the energy of life, the energy of creation. So maybe you become radiant to the point that if you're trying to attract someone, they've never met someone like you. And maybe somebody very negative can't see it because they're trapped and they're afraid of it, but somebody who's very positive would resonate with who you are and view you as very unique. And so you're more positive and you attract people like you. Maybe you feel a lot of energy to go work. Maybe you'd gain energy from work. Am I gaining or losing energy being up here?
Up.
From the start. Shouldn't I be losing energy?
No way.
Shouldn't I be losing it? I just took 3 bottles of Adderall, guys. I'm high off my face. That's why this is so crazy. I'm hallucinating right now. I was hiding the hallucination thing. I was just denying it. I'm on shrooms, Adderall, Coke, meth. I have a butt plug in too. Okay? I do. Just lubed it up. So, okay? So what happens is that your brain starts becoming very creative. You'll get very creative, good for improv comedy, good for creating ideas, good for problem solving. And so you start connecting to that. Now what will happen is, here's the basic idea of it. The parasites that suck from you, what they're doing is, let's say for example, you identify as this like hard-working hustler, as an example, which is great. How great is that? I love that. Love that, love that. Love hustling, huge, massive, I have videos about it. But let's say that you identify as that. Well, now what happens is that you take on these really, really brutal projects. You're unhappy, and you say, I'll be happy when. Then what happens is that that becomes an identity. That becomes a form-based identity. Then what happens is, let's say, for example, that the easiest solution in the world that would make you so rich was right in front of you. That energetic parasite will not allow you to perceive that. Remember I said discernment? It doesn't allow you to perceive that. It won't let you see it because then you wouldn't get to be in a cortisol state all the time. And so what it does is it starts altering your perception to make you unable to see easy solutions. And what it does is it keeps grinding you into the ground. So people will say getting rich is the hardest thing in the world. I believe that is true within the context of you have not yet learned the paradigm that we're talking about here. But you typically won't learn the paradigm we're talking about here without going through a hustler phase. So it is accurate, but it's not as accurate as it appears on the surface. The richest people that I know are able to chill out, enjoy life. They make one little decision, and a million things change from that one decision. It's like, that, boom, $1 million. That, $2 million. I'm exaggerating, I'm kind of making this up, but that's the general gist of it. Because in the same way that you can't go read that classical piece of literature that would change your life, the same way that you can't watch Muhammad Ali versus George Foreman, it's just too high vibe, is the same way that you can't just go do that simple solution. It doesn't let you see it. There's a parasite on your mind that needs it to be hard. Same thing with being a victim. You have a victim parasite, it feeds off that victim identity, and then if anything were to alleviate that feeling of being a victim, it wouldn't run. It's basically a flywheel, right? I'm a victim, I'm a victim. Ignores anything good that would make you not be a victim. Now you're more of a victim. Then you complain to people about being a victim. They tell you you're not a victim. You get mad from that, feel more victimized. Then you put yourself in situations to get further victimized, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. It's a parasite running the mind. That's two very basic ones. Very, very basic. But it's anything that cuts you off from your natural flow state, anything that cuts you off from the energy of creation, anything that cuts you off from God. Now, you don't need to believe in God just view it as good vibes. Good. Whenever I say God, just say good vibes. Whatever you want to call it, I don't care. You know, your parents used to beat you up because you didn't look at the gospel when you were a kid and beat the crap out of you, and you're like, stop saying the G word. I get it. I'm not here to argue with you. I'm just making the point. It's the good vibes. It's the energy of creation. So if you want to be motivated, start allowing that energy of creation right in you. But it's a mental muscle. It's a mental muscle. And begin to observe the way that you're unable to resonate with the things that would help you. You're unable to resonate with them. It would put you too much at the cause, not the effect of your life, and it would make life too easy. Okay? A sign of spiritual growth is life is easy and you're very much at the cause. A sign of spiritual non-evolution would be everything is hard and you're a victim and at the effect of everything. That is the general telltale sign. And you can see it right in people's pupils how energized they are. You can look at them. Look them dead in the eye. You can see what energy is running them. Look right in the pupil. You'll see it. You'll see in 2 seconds. You'll know. You'll know they're being leached off of, sucked off of.
How do we get rid of the parasites?
That's we're getting there. He had a thing. He's in my Miami event, and he had the same thing. You're like always a step ahead, because you're in that Miami one that I put out recently, right? Yeah. And he was like asking questions. I'm like, this guy is always a step ahead. So thank you. So, okay, but let's go back to what was covered already. Let's go back to what was covered already. Look at where your awareness is. Is your awareness in a state of ill ease, a refrigerator hum always going of discontent, believing that satisfaction will be found in the future? Or do you already feel present to the moment now and you enjoy taking action for the sake of the dance?
I go in and out.
We all do. It's an art form. Okay, it's an art form. I wouldn't be teaching this if everybody had it. I wouldn't be teaching this if I had it perfectly. I don't. I have ups and downs like anybody. But it's something that you'll see, like every dollar that I have, I've done over 100 million in sales. And if you were to look at those 100 million in sales, 98 of it would have been done by me doing what I'm talking about here. Okay? It comes from a state of high momentum, total focus, total time management, total engagement, total joy, and locking in. That's where it came from. So think of what you could accomplish at a basic level if you stop resonating with all this garbage that comes at you that gives you dopamine and stimulation on the front end, and you just went right to the things that worked. Just went right to, like, what would somebody's life look like as a simple, just make it easy. Let's say they just went to the gym every day, they ate a perfect diet, they studied marketing and sales, they went out and tore up the club and read great books. And that's most of what they did. And when they talked with their friends, they didn't crap talk, they didn't gossip, they didn't complain, they just talked about funnels. Okay? Funnels. That's what, it's a marketing thing. Okay? Like click funnels. Okay? Imagine if all you talked about was funnels. That's it. Imagine if all you talked about was getting better up at the club and socializing. Imagine if all that you did was crack jokes. Even though cracking jokes sounds not as good as the funnels, it's actually the purpose of life. It's joy. Laughter is another one of those things like art, like friendship, like love. It's another one of those things. You'd be engaging at that level. How much more energized are you when you're laughing and feeling good? You got to understand, everybody around you, at least 99% of people, are in a down state. They're in a freaking trance. They're staring at their phone. They don't resonate with anything, or anything that will help them. So again, let's go back to it. Contracted state, highly contracted, it's densified, which means now that for energy to get in, at the most dense state, that could be heroin. Little bit less dense state could be lesser drugs. Little bit less dense state could be pain and being a victim and like the ego that you get from being a victim and the complaints and crap talking and the dopamine that you get from feeling better than other people. Little bit more out could be junk food. Little bit more out could be TikTok, et cetera, right? So it's something that, like a spike protein, is like this thin little thing that just goes whoop, right in like that. Now, if you expand your awareness, that's when you're getting energy from the process itself. That's when you're getting energy from nature, from love, from laughter, from the joy of the dance. And so that energizes you, and as a result of this, you wind up being unstoppable. And it's one of these things where all the ways that they can get you to stop don't work. They can threaten you, don't care. Don't identify the body. They can scare you, don't care. They can buy you off, don't care, can't buy me off. It doesn't matter what they do. They can't stop you. The only thing they can do is kill you. And then you're probably just going to come back as a spirit and get at him anyway. So, like Obi-Wan, okay? I'm kidding, but I'm not sure if I'm kidding. So, I'll let you know. So, it's one of these things where you become unstoppable. In my mind, a big part of life is conquering every fear again and again and again, breaking every boundary again and again and again. Whatever scares you, whatever it is that, and there's rational fear in life too, don't get me wrong, but irrational fears that scare you. Things, personal barriers, barriers to work ethic, barriers to fear, like for me hitting the club for so many years, barriers to that. Things that would scare you, things that intimidate you, things that are hard, and you want to keep easing into these things. So what happens is that as you do this, you wind up getting to a point where you're leaning into your edge so much that it winds up being that you have to be more aerodynamic. So you're at a point where you can't get through to the next level unless you leave this crap behind. What is that crap? It could be bad habits, it could be bad friends, bad significant other, bad things you're putting in your body, wasted thoughts. It's just all that waste. And you want to think of it again. There's heaven on earth and hell on earth. Heaven or hell is something to think about for after you're dead. It also starts today. Heaven or hell literally starts like you're waiting for it. When's heaven or hell? Now! There's some people in this room that are in heaven, some people in this room that are in hell. It doesn't matter that we're just in the same physical reality. So you want to start looking at the characterizations of that. What are the characterizations? What is abundance? What is love of process? What does it mean to be present to the moment, not trapped in your head? What does it mean to take major action versus feel tired and have to push through? So these are just different things that we want to be looking at, okay? And the way that you do it is just basically familiarize yourself. State of discontent, wishing, 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 wishing. I don't have, I don't have, I don't have, I don't have. Waiting to be happy, waiting to be happy, waiting to be happy, waiting to be happy. Versus being present and an outflow. It's an outflow. You can't stop, okay? I'm notorious for going out until the next day. I had a big problem with that, okay? If I didn't have an adventure that night, I'd just keep going. I'm notorious for that, okay? If I didn't get anything popping that night, you'd see me out until noon. I don't teach that. But I'm giving it here as an example. I did it for the joy of the dance. If I just had a rough night, I just keep going till noon. People be going to work the next morning. I was still out. I'm notorious for running seminars until 9 in the morning or noon the next day. Who has ever been to one of my seminars? How late? What's the latest seminar I've ever run with you?
6 in the morning.
Yeah, 6 a.m. Find $10,000 a day to keep it going. I pay $10K to keep that thing going. I didn't even increase audience satisfaction. So like, this guy's out of his mind. I just kept going. Okay? So this is the kind of thing where I get high off of this. Okay? I'll go take trips in nature for months. I'm out there for months. I just came back from all through North Washington. You guys seen the videos coming out? Yeah. I don't want to come back. Did you guys read my Instagram post today? I was talking about it. Read my post today. Okay, I didn't want to come back. So this is what I'm saying is, okay, I'll be out there with my kids for months, hiking around, shooting videos. If I have a new special person in my life, it gets pretty crazy too. Like I told you guys, the 7-month thing, I guess a little crazy too. So I just love life, okay? It's a love for life. It's a joy for life. But that's cultivated. That's not, like people see me and they go, oh, but that's just you. No, that's you. You're the one that got hypnotized. You're the one that gave in. You're the one that connected to the sixth system. That's on you. That's not me. That's you. You gave in. You caved. You took the easy thing on the front end and you sucked its dick. That's on you. So think about this for a minute, okay? Think of it like a deal with the devil. All these things that are coming at you that are taking you away from the kind of state that I'm talking about here. Okay? So in other words, let's look at simple examples. Victimhood. What does victimhood do? I'm a victim. What does that do?
Takes your power.
You blame someone else.
Victimhood, you can be the biggest victim. You're the best little victim. We've got to be careful saying this these days. You'll get a whole mob on you, right? Amazing dopamine and ego that you can get out of being victimized. Absolutely. In collectivism, you gain status from it. Could even be fair and real. I'm not saying it's not. But it doesn't mean that it's untrue that you gain status, even though it could be very real. It is real and legitimate. But how are you going to gain real success? Anthony Robbins, the very first thing that he teaches anybody is you're not a victim. If that is the very basis of success, and there's an entire culture telling people the opposite, is that culture their friend? No. The most basic level thing. Anthony Robbins, the most mainstream guru of success. Woohoo! First lesson, you're not a victim anymore. So if there's a cultural indoctrination saying that you're a victim, is that your friends? Are these people trying to help you? They're trying to warp your discernment. They want you to live in hell. So, victimhood. Victimhood takes you out of the present moment. It takes you into your own personal hell. How about trashing people? Very addictive. What function? Okay, what do we know about the winner effect? When you feel better than other people, what do you get? What do you get? Dopamine. If you trash other people, have you ever watched a group of people trashing somebody and it's like a vampiric feeding? Like, you ever see like a vampire movie where there's like 6 vampires on some young girl's neck and they're like, they're all like sucking at it like a pack of wolves ripping it apart? You will see people in little silos on the internet that just sit there gaining energy from this. I call them poop eaters. They are gaining energy from talking trash. They get dopamine out of it. So what you're doing is, it's all in the opportunity cost. Just say the word opportunity cost. Opportunity. Say the word what else? What else? So is the damage that they are, is the damage that they're trashing other people, is that bad? Like, will anything super bad happen if you trash people on the surface?
No.
This guy sucks. That guy sucks. I'm awesome. Does that hurt? Is that bad? No, it's not, it's actually not. But what it does is 2 things. It burns up time. Say that. Burns up time. Okay, so it's the opportunity cost. Monopolized opportunity cost. The second thing that it does is it gets you away from God. Okay, or good vibes, as we said. Okay? Because what it does is it means you're not connecting the process. You're not connecting the joy of life. You're not connecting to you as the witnessing consciousness. You're connecting to you as an ego and where you stand relative to other people to get dopamine. So so what it's doing is it's withering your connection to your spiritual state. So you need it more and more now. You need it more and more and more, and it becomes a full-on addiction. Somebody in this state can't talk for more than 5 minutes without trashing somebody. It's a physical addiction in their body, but it's also an addiction in the soul. Don't believe in the soul? All good. In the good vibes. In the core essence. That's where they're at. So it's not just the trashing. That's not the end of the world. What it's doing is it's allowing the person to get off on that. They're getting dopamine out of it. But the whole dopamine matrix is a trap in and of itself. It's limited in what it can achieve. The whole matrix is the cheese trap for the mouse. You're the mouse eating the cheese. If you're relying on stimulus and you're relying on dopamine spike as your foundation for who you are and for basic level fulfillment, you are at a deficit. You cannot compete with somebody on the other side of that coin. Can't compete. You're done. They will demolish you. They will own you, demolish you. They will be 100x your skill set because you're still in that limited paradigm. Is that paradigm better than apathy? Yes. Some people fully give themselves over to it, do very, very dark win-lose things, and they can get motivation from that temporarily. But you will notice a high characteristic of people who do that is they need alcohol, they need to smoke weed, smoke cigars, trash people, because they don't have independent access to flow. So you'll see them, whenever they're not just like winning, they're puffing, drinking, weed. Why? Because they don't have independent access to a flow state. So they do that to keep themselves in the pocket. They're trying to stay in the pocket. Now, how do I know this? Because I've lived in the Hollywood Hills for a long time. I've cruised around LA, New York, Miami, Vegas, all these great places, all through Europe, done all that. And what do I see with celebrities? What do you see with people that get too much of what they want? They get a dark look in the pupils. You're going to see that flat out. You can look in somebody's eyes and see what's running them. You can see it right in the eyes. If someone's coming in a dark place, it looks like shark eyes. You're going to see it. They have this look where they're, okay, here's another distinction. They're in the physical intelligence. okay? They're in the physical intelligence. And what it is that they feel very against people, okay? So you're going to see them, and the way they carry themselves, it's like they're against. They have frame control addiction. They perpetually need to control the frame. Somebody like Tom Brady, if you say, are you going to beat that team next week? What does he say? We're going to dominate. Tom Brady doesn't need to do that because he's not getting dopamine externally. So how does Tom Brady talk about opposing teams? You know what? They're a great team, and if we work very hard, we'll put ourselves in a position to have a great chance. That's all he needs to say. He has 7 Super Bowl rings. And people wonder where that comes from. His dopamine isn't dependent just on talking trash on the opponent. So in effect, that kind of talk is actually revealing you as being weak. It's a weakened structure, okay? In other words, you crawl to the top of a mountain that's here. There's another mountain here that's higher, but you're stuck on this mountain. You climb this mountain, but now you're going to have to go all the way down and deconstruct all that to get up to the next mountain. So I'm trying to show you, again, how to be unstoppable, how to be dominant, how to be relentless, how to be an absolute winner, how to get absolute results. I'm trying to give you the lay of the land here, okay? So the paradigm that I'm talking about, let's just break it down super simple. Meditate for 3 minutes, try to live there. Go do something for the joy of the dance for a couple minutes, try to live there. Acquaint yourself with what that feels like. If you meditate for 2 minutes, acquaint yourself with what that feels like. What gets scary when you meditate for a couple minutes, if you've never done it, is you can't hear yourself thinking. And it scares you because it makes you feel like you're dead. You ever feel that way? You are dead. That's the main key, okay? So your body's already dying, okay? So you think there's something to defend. It is your temple, but it's not to be defended the way that you think. So what happens when you can let this go is it's like a keto, okay? Where somebody will clown you, and you just say one little thing, and it's 100x them clowning you. Like they're like, bah, 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 and you're like, sweet. And everyone just laughs at them. Now, when people do this, because even for me, I've gone out for years and years, I've done this for years and years, I could get insecure too. Like I could get it where somebody could get under my skin, and then I could get pulled down off my perch and then start becoming defensive. But you'll notice that when you don't get defensive, that's your best position. So it's one of these things where the less that you resist, and you just kind of tease back a little bit, it hits like a tsunami. But if you're like, but wait, no! But wait, I'm cool! If you do that, it looks try hard. It's trying too hard. And people can see that. Now, there's one way that you can win in that paradigm. That is if you manage to keep all your ducks in a row permanently. So that's called ducks in a row confidence. Say that with me. Ducks in a row confidence is the idea that if you can just keep everything perfect, then you can be confident. What is the argument for that type of confidence? It motivates you not to be delusional. Why should you feel that confident? Why? Why should you feel that confident if you haven't won? Why? You're lying to yourself. So from that standpoint, it's got a great point. If you already felt good about yourself now, loved yourself too much now, value your own opinion too much now, you won't take action. But what we've covered here already covers that, okay? What I'm talking about is not apathy. What I'm talking about is connecting to that energy where you have so much motivation you look like you're on meth. You look like you want to go clean your room with a toothbrush. You look like you want to go have sex with a tree, okay? You're just like, life, okay? Life, okay? It's the joy for life. It's the gift of creation, the gift of consciousness. You've been given the gift of consciousness. How often do you ever even think about that? What is it that we're even trying to protect so much in the world? You have the left-wing politics, the right-wing politics, they're arguing and arguing. Would either of them be happy if they got their desired system? No. I doubt it. It doesn't delegitimize what they're saying. I can take points from anybody. I've taken great points from right or left. But it doesn't delegitimize their point. But as a side point, could they be happy? Somebody who complains that much, could they be happy? So we sit here all day saying, I've got to protect myself, and I don't want to be lied to, and I want to make money, and I want to hook up, and I want to get this and that. I don't want to get punked and all that. But how much of your life is actually even good? How much of your life are you even in it? Like, what are you even protecting? Isn't that crazy to think about? How much of your life is waiting to be happy forever? When does it start? Like, when's it start? When's it start? When does it start? So that's kind of what I'm saying to you here. When does it start? Because what you're going to do if you keep doing all be happy when again and again and again is you're going to hit a point where even when you get what you want, what are you going to do? Are you going to really be happy? You're going to bump the goalpost. Bump it, bump it, bump it, bump it, which is good because it keeps you in a state of action. That's the good side of it. The downside is you're never actually arriving. So here's the main key. You get addicted to always striving, never arriving, and you can't even see the solutions to arriving. So you get so addicted to your struggle, you get so addicted to things being hard, that if you actually hit a point where you were to arrive, you couldn't get there. You couldn't let it land. I gave an example in a video recently that you might have seen. It was called like 3 exercises to sledgehammer or something or other. Anybody see that one? Okay, here's the example that I gave. Okay, simple way of looking at it. I'll repeat it here. If you say to somebody in Los Angeles, you say, hey, do you want to be rich? Do you want to have all this money? They say yes. Okay. Why do you want it? So I can be happy. Okay, cool. And then you say to them, which of the following things have you done? So I live in LA, so I'll give examples from LA, but I could give some great ones here in San Fran too, because I know San Fran decent. Okay, in LA, you have the biggest tree in the world called the General Sherman 3 hours away. It's in Sequoia National Park. Anybody here remember this now? Yeah. A couple of you guys? Okay. 3 hours away. Thank you. Thank you, bro. Now, think about it this way. What if you knew that only billionaires could go get access to see the biggest tree in the world? You'd be like, oh yeah, I got to become a billionaire. You can even see the biggest tree, the General Sherman, yo. That's why I got to be rich. Yo. Can't even see the biggest tree, yo. But in reality, you can go for free. You have a 3-hour drive. Now you say to yourself, well, I don't want to drive 3 hours. Look at all the dumb crap you've done with 3 hours every week. The dumb crap. But yet, you can't spend 3 hours to go see the biggest tree in the world. But you're telling me that you want to be rich. The Getty Museum in LA is so sick. Just you don't like art. The layout is so expensive. No matter how much money you make, you're unlikely to own something as nice as that yourself. But yet you won't go in there for free? You won't go to the Griffith Observatory, the Space Observatory for free? You won't go see Malibu, go down to Point Dume for free? You won't go hiking in Topanga for free? You won't go to take a tour of the beautiful, gorgeous Hollywood Hills for free? It's all free. You could go to Joshua Tree, the place that they made the U2 album, for free. But you don't go. San Diego's pretty sick, guys. You ever been to San Diego? Yeah. Pacific Beach, Gaslamp District. What's that worth if you looked at the total cost of that? Average person in LA doesn't go. Average person in LA has never been to Disneyland. They'll go later. It's always later. Always. There's so many amazing things that you could do, but you don't do it. There's so much good stuff you could do now for free, but you don't do it. Nightclubs you can get into free, parties you can get into for free, friends you can make for free, all that, but you don't go do it. You go to the La Brea tar pits, see where old, like woolly mammoths got trapped in tar, but you don't go do it. But you say, I want to be a billionaire. All it is it's an addiction to lack. That's all it is. You want to know how I know? Here's how I know. Because sometimes I'll date people that are so incredibly attractive. But I'm not going to commit. Go for it, buddy.
Oh, Robbie, here.
Yeah, he knows where it's at. So, see a bit. So, okay, so I'll be dating somebody. Like, beautiful little angel. Beautiful little angel. But I'm just not at a point where I'm looking to commit. And they will come find the one person in all of LA who wouldn't commit. And they will sit there for years. Will you be my husband? Will you commit to me? No. Please? No. Pretty please? No, but you can come over. I'm honest about it. Then I say, look, I don't like that you're not happy. So go do your own thing. Just go. Go do your own thing. I don't want you to be unhappy. They will not date someone for 2-3 years. Blow up my text. This happened many times. Blow up my text, and I say, please, go find someone. You're so beautiful. There's so many people that would like you. But it is only because I'm the one freak, a weirdo, who happened to study a lot of stuff about attraction. And that person I would have cut off my arm to commit to 20 years ago. If they would have said, cut off your arm and I will be yours, I would have done it. Would have been hard, but I would have just got like a big axe and done it in one swoop. Okay?
Yo.
And I've just done a lot of study on this, so I don't have a need to do that. Will someday. And so what happens is that they're chasing the one person, the one, and by the way, you might think that they're like, well, you know, you got these like really cool videos and seminars. They're not even watching those. Yeah, but you're kind of like a broad thinker. They're not even having conversations with me about that. The only thing they're talking about is like, I want you, and me going, no. And then them showing up and making it a little too hard for me to resist in the evening. So, and I look at this, I'm like, there's guys that are richer, better looking, that have so much more going for them. Why are you chasing me? And I will literally say, please, I'm going to block you. I love you, but I'm going to block you. And they will blow up my phone and blow up my friends' phones for years and not get somebody because it's an addiction to lack. Okay? Like I said, I've also had it where I have had a significant other and I bring them into my world and it's awesome and they complain and complain and complain. I've helped people to get rich and they mess it up and complain and create chaos. I've watched this happen. It's an addiction to a state of lack. We could live in heaven or hell. We can live in heaven or hell. When things get a little too good, it's like the light is too bright. The direct light is too bright. Think of it like this. Here'd be a way, just as a thought experiment, okay? Thought experiment. Imagine that your core essence, your soul, when your body dies, gets magnetically attracted to whatever energy you're in. Imagine that. So whatever dimension it's going to go to next, just a thought experiment doesn't make it real. Just thought experiment. Whatever energy, okay, because think about this. You ever had it when someone's super negative, what do they want to do? What do they want to spread? What do they want to spread? Negativity, right? When you're super happy, what do you want to do? You remember I said that when you're in this state, you want to take action, you want to do things, right? So what happens is that when you're in a super happy state, you want to share life. When you're in a high vibe state, you look at a tree and it becomes very interesting. Okay, you guys asking me about psychedelics? It sounds a bit like that, right? So you look at a tree and you're like staring at the tree. You can make yourself cry at the tree. If you don't believe me, I have like 50 videos coming out that I haven't put out, and I do it in almost every video. And I do that to make the point. I do it to make the point. Okay, how many people do you know that can cry on command just staring at like a sunset? How am I doing that? What am I doing? Is it my great Oscar-winning acting skills? Perhaps. But it's really not. It's me, all I'm doing to do it, super easy. You just open up the kind of what is it? The ocular in the what do they call that? Like in the binoculars, right? What is it?
Oculus.
The oculus. You just open it up. That's all you do. All you do is get out of your head fully and just look at the miracle of creation in front of you. And when that sinks in for you deeply, it will bring you to tears. Anybody could do it. You guys could go do it right after the seminar. It's not some rocket science thing that's unattainable. Just literally look at how beautiful that it is that you're alive and how rare that is and let it sink in. What's the lie? Is the lie crying at a tree? Think about that. Is that a lie? That's the actual truth. That's the truth. People don't see that. So what it is that the beauty of creation, the beauty of life, we hide from that. Okay? So imagine as a thought experiment that when you die and your core essence leaves your body, it naturally magnetizes. Just like people that like to talk trash will get around other people that like to talk trash. It's like little molecules, like ding, 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 and they like find each other, like bah, all that. People like to create, find other people who like to create. They find each other. Imagine that your core essence would go somewhere beautiful. Well, what happens is, if in life, your life is beginning to resemble heaven a little bit too much, like a heaven on earth too much, that scares you. It scares you. So you've got to be able to actually look into the light. Now, don't look in the light. It's going to burn your eyes out. But you've got to be able to look in the light. You have to be able to look into the positivity without filter. How do you do this? What will happen is, well, first of all, I'm doing work on you right now with none of you even knowing it, by the way. So you might be feeling that now. But what it is that when you're, when things are that awesome and that beautiful, you've got to train yourself to look at it without being trapped in your head. Don't get trapped in your head. When you see that, okay, you'll see this, for example, you go out to a bar or club, right? You start approaching, you start meeting people. It starts to go so sick. It's so sick. What do you do almost every time? It goes so awesome. What do you wind up doing?
Jump out.
You jump out of it. How many of you have done this? It's like the craziest night of your life. It couldn't get better. And then your ego, it's almost like you snap out of it, and it's like you just suck after that. You can't do it. You suck. You can't let, you were being funny, flowing. You were in command, controlling frames, self-amused, leading. It was smashing. But what happens is you feel yourself doing it, and you're like, ah, like that, and you snap out of it. Same thing will happen in meditation. You get crazy. You're like, I am so, you're like, I am the Buddha. You know, right? You're like, and you snap out of it because your brain can't hack it. You know? You get shown that amazing multi-million-dollar opportunity, your brain goes, smack, won't let you do it. It's too awesome. Your brain won't let you have it. Your brain won't allow you to have that heaven on earth. It won't let you resonate there. It's a drug addiction. It's an addiction to drugs, but it's regular stuff that isn't drugs. That's what's happening to you. So you've got to get at a point where you don't resonate with crap. Like somebody starts talking trash or being a victim, you're not like, you better not be a victim. Stop talking that trash. Bah! No, that's just feeding it. What should it look like? That's it. Dude, amazing. Yeah, that guy sucks. You're the man.
I agree.
That's it. Total agreement. You're right. Who cares? Having fun. Not feeding it. You don't care. You don't resonate with it, and you don't care. You don't feed it. You don't resonate with it. You don't care. It's just pure win. Focus on me, guys. Pure winning. What you resonate with is pure winning. Life, winning, fun, expansion, creativity, beauty, the gift of consciousness. That's what you resonate with. So this other stuff comes at you, you don't have to resist it. You're not like, no, don't look at that. You're not like that. You're just like, whatever, like, do your thing, right? If you're talking to somebody who's like, say a homeless person on the street, and they're like, you're a devil, like that, are you like, no, sir, no. Please, no. You care what I think. I do. Don't go there. Stay in the pocket. Keep making millions. Keep meeting new people. Keep traveling. Keep having kids. Keep enjoying life. Keep going into nature. Keep reading the best books. Keep dancing. Keep joking. Keep loving life. Win and win and win and win and win and win and win. Win till you can't take it anymore. Wait until you say, yeah, just wait until you can't stand it, okay? That's it, just win. That's it, just win, okay? And what will happen is from that standpoint, you're gonna start to see sources in front of you that you're like, that's what I wanna learn. And that could be books, that could be teachers, that could be habits, hobbies, that could be friends, that could be a significant other that's not whining all the time. Whatever the case, but you just don't resonate with that anymore. It's just not part of your paradigm. The truth is, most of what I've achieved in life came from periods where I stuck to this, and all the waste of time is where I didn't. Most of what I achieved in life was in a state where I cleared the time to go deep. Then what I did was I was ultra focused. I didn't have a bunch of people in my ear robbing me of focus and distracting me. And then what I did was I got in a state of very, very high momentum. And the great analogy of this is socializing, isn't it? Because you know what it's like when you set aside 4 hours to go out. You just set them aside. Set aside the 4 hours, maybe 4 days a week. You know me, I go a little more. But let's just say you did 4 days a week. And every day for the next 4 days, I'm going out for 4 or 5 hours. And you didn't sit there making excuses. You didn't sit there feeling sorry for yourself. You didn't sit there derping around. You just went and met people. Always, the whole night you're meeting people. And you're laughing, you're having fun, you're adding value. What's that look like at the end of the 4 days? Come on, it's crazy. You're like a ninja. You're like unstoppable. You get so good. You get so incredibly good so quickly if you stay locked in like that. What can I accomplish if I why do I do this event? I do this event because I know that me sitting at home in my house, I'm never going to do a video like this, that if I set aside several hours, bring you all here and smash it. There's no way I could be this locked in if I'm sitting at home by myself. I mean, perhaps the way I haven't thought of. But you see what I'm getting at here? What does having you here do for me? It forces me to lock in. It forces me to give myself fully to this event. It forces me to focus. It gets me in a momentum state. I don't look like this in the middle of the day. I don't know if I'd want to. Maybe I would, right? I'm not as locked in. I'm doing my thing. I'm doing amazing stuff. But if I force myself to get into positions where I have total focus, that's the key. Now, what if I have a significant other who's like whining? Why haven't you married me yet? That's like my big one. Every ex ever. Okay, why haven't you married me yet? Why don't you love me? Blah, blah, blah. Like this chirping in my ear. And then I get in here and I've been hearing this crap. And then I come here and all of you are here. Now, does that person care that the fact that we just went and traveled for several months was funded by me being here? Of course they do. No, they don't at all, okay? Not even 1%, okay? Not even 1%. But they'll do that. And you know why? Satanism. It's satanic. It's pure, unadulterated Satanism. Now, when you say that, you're like, is someone whining is satanic? It is. Why do I say that? I literally view it like worshiping the devil. They're literally just get out your pentagram and just be like, Satan, take me over, Satan. I am your slave. Now, they might hear that and say, dude, I'm just like a little emotional, right? Why do I say that? Because what are we trying to build here? What are we trying to build? Yes, I don't care about this crap. Here's what I want to do, okay? I want to go smash the seminar. Glory, epic. Then what I want to do is that night, I want to go out to Nopa. Now, ever since the pandemic, everyone stays safe, you know, the virus gets a little crazy after 11, so they used to be open late. They're not open as late anymore. Oh, my goodness. But normally in San Francisco, I would go to Nopa. Who here's ever been to Nopa? Talk about heaven on earth, okay? They're open late, farm to table. Oh, so good. I'm going to go to Nopa. Then I'm going to go hit the club. Maybe I'm going to go down by East Side West, down the marina. I'm going to laugh at my friends. We're going to have way too much fun. Something exciting is going to happen. I'm going to go to bed. I'm going to wake up. I'm going to go down to Pier 39. I'm going to jump on a boat, and I'm going to go all through the bay. I'm going to have so much fun. Maybe grab my kids, maybe go over to the Golden Gate Bridge, catch a view of it, maybe shoot some videos, get some pictures, blow their mind. Maybe I'm going to shoot over to the Muirwoods, take a little walk in nature, maybe check out a museum. I'm going to crack jokes with my friends. I'm going to laugh. I'm going to have fun. I'm going to remember it. Maybe go over to Archimedes, the Banya. Pretty weird. A lot of dicks out, if I'm being honest with you. But an amazing spa. Yeah. I've actually met people there for dates that are like, you know, they're there naked. I'm like talking to them, like looking them in the eye. And I'm going to go do that. I'm going to breathe deep. I'm going to smile. I'm going to take it in because no one's going to take a minute of my life. No one is going to take a minute of my life. And if they get it, they're not going to get it twice. The whining, the complaining, the crap talking, looking at trash, absorbing trash is Satanism because even if you don't believe in Satan, which is fine, it's the same thing. It's the worship of death. It is the worship of death. You're given the gift of creation, but everything in our society is designed to hypnotize you. It's all designed to have you playing the victim, feeling separated, being miserable, feeling not enough, feeling to the point that you don't have joy now, all that. It's complete, total insanity. And with that, they will pump you with the mainstream news. They will divide us. They will divide us along every line they can. Make us not love each other. Make us competitive. Make us against each other while doing things that are so horrific behind the scenes. Things that kill millions, but will focus on one death. Is that one death real? Yes. Are those problems they focus on real? Absolutely. But they will do anything to distract you from the real chaos that is going on. And if anybody brings it up, you can't post it. But they'll distract you from that. They will get you so whacked out on stimulus seeking, on ego, on distraction, diversion, hatred, smallness, that you won't know up from down. You will be in a perpetual state of low-level pain, always, and from that, you are a puppet, and from that, you are controlled. And you will live a life, a whole life, in a simulation, in a simulated reality. Not even real. And so what happens is from this simulation, you're sitting there, you're in your little simulation, and all these things that you think have meaning, many of them are fake. All these little causes that you got behind, many of them are fake. All these things that you thought that you were doing that were good were serving a warped, sick, twisted agenda that you didn't even take the time to do a bit of research to find out. And your life is wasted as a battery. Now, if you really want to get sick, then you consider that as these things distract you from having any form of a core essence, you have the birth of the body and you have the birth of the soul. And as you begin to recognize this, what happens when you've been living in your ego and living in your physical body in a fear state and a distraction state for 80 years, and you die? Now, when you hear me say that, that's harsh. That is the harshest indictment I could say. But let's pause for a minute and think about this. If 99.9% of your thoughts, words, actions, mental capital, emotional capital is like, I'm hungry, I'm cold, I'm hot, I'm angry, or like, am I cool? I'm not cool. How do I compare? That person's trash. Or just chasing dopamine spikes, identifying in the ego, identifying the body, what is there that would exist when you're dead? What exists? What exists? All your energy went there. So what happens as you begin to build a core essence like I'm talking about, you will feel this buzz in your head. It's this separate weird buzz in the head. It's light and it's subtle. You can't feel it when you're contracted. It's as your mind expands. And that will sit there. And what happens is when you allow your awareness to stay there, you're going to speak through there. And you're going to, it's like people would call it channeling, even though I think that's a little weird and over the top. Although what I'm saying is pretty weird and over the top. Right? I'm like, that's weird and over the top. But you see my point, okay? So it's a bit like channeling, even though I think that's a weird idea. And I don't know what I would make of that. I don't have enough knowledge to know what to think of that. Maybe real, maybe a bunch of crap. I don't know. But point being is that, and I don't care to know. That's not my path to know that. But, I mean, who wouldn't like to know? But the point is that I don't know. So it's like you'll find that you feel this buzz in the head. And you don't need, okay, so what happens when you're in a derp state is that to initiate or to focus, you've got to really summon a lot of strength. It's like you're trying to kickstart the car. What'll happen from this state is you don't really need to try. It just flows out. It's a flow state, a natural flow state. Y'all have experienced it when you hit the club. You've experienced this when you hit the club. When you go out and you smash it, what happens? Me here is not that different from me in a club. You're just in there smashing it. You're in present state and you're acting through it. So it's weirdly when you let off trying to control everything and then it moves through you. How do you build that? The more that you identify with the process itself, the more that you're amplifying that. Okay, that present awareness, that love of process, that identification with the joy of the dance, the identification with the screensaver, like what we say. So allow your mind to go to that state. Now I'm going to give you again, I've given you examples of this. I want you to think again about this, okay? So if you go, here in San Francisco, there's a Russian banya called Archimedes. In Archimedes, who has ever been to Archimedes? You have? Who else? A couple of you guys?
Every month, dude.
Yeah? You guys whip it out there?
Hell yeah. Join us, man.
You know what's funny? I don't mind whipping it out if it was like people I don't know, but I just don't want to whip it out with like Ibrahim there. I just don't want to stare at Ibrahim's wang. I don't know what it is.
Are you afraid you're going to watch it?
Yeah, I'm just going to start, it's going to get all crazy. Yeah. So it's like, but yeah, it's like a spa, okay? And it's burning hot, okay? Go there, and it's so ridiculously hot that it creates a light level discomfort. And the only place that you can hide from that discomfort is in the present state. Then what you do is you jump in this freezing cold pool. And what'll happen is that is uncomfortable. And then the only place that you can hide from that discomfort is to get present and to accept it. So it forces what's called non-resistance. Say that. Non-resistance. Okay? When you get out of there, you will feel high. if you don't resist. People in a resistant state hate it. They despise it. But in a non-resistant state, you get high. Same thing with meditation, same idea. You're staring at a wall for a period of time. It's boring. So it's like light level torment. So because it's so boring, like a light level torment, what winds up happening is that it forces you to get present because it's so freaking boring. And so it connects you to a present state. Meditation is the same. So it's anything in life that, let me give you another one. You ready for a couple more? Want me to blow your mind? Yes. Helping an enemy. Helping an enemy. Say that.
Helping an enemy.
I do it all the time. All the time I help my enemies. All the time. Should do more, but I do quite a bit. Maybe not all the time. I do it quite a bit. They are mind blown. They think I'm out to get them when I see them having a hard time. I get a high off of that, like probably the most of any high I can get. You'll be like, oh, like it is freaking crazy what that will do for you when you help an enemy. Another one is when someone trashes you and you say nothing. Say nothing. Okay? And with that, because look, don't take it from me. Just think this through yourself, okay? Deconstruct this yourself. Someone trashed you. So you come on, you go, hey, I want to say something. That's wrong. Okay? Now what that does is it gets you in your ego. It gets you in the dopamine spike. You're clinging to a dopamine spike of feeling like you're right, of feeling like you're better than people. So I don't mind explaining to somebody if I have a different opinion. I'm cool with that. But if I feel reactive, the amazing thing that you can do is just let them say it. Let it just be there. You want to know a funny little thing that I've had over the years? Think about this for a minute. Is there anybody in my old community that probably took it harder than me? Anybody? Think about that for a minute. And who always had the highest sales? How many 8-figure businesses came out of our old community? Me, David D'Angelo. That's it. I'd be taking it. I'd go look at my shopping cart. Same numbers. Didn't go up, didn't go down. Just consistent. Never saw a difference in my shopping cart. I'll say this to other teachers in my community. They're like, well, this person said this. I go, don't worry about it. Go in your shopping cart. Is there any difference in your shopping cart? No. But I got to say something. I'm like, why? Your shopping cart. Look at your shopping cart. Are the numbers any different? Do you want to know the real truth why it doesn't change your shopping cart numbers? People that are buyers don't resonate with crap. People with money aren't sitting there looking at that. That's the reason why. If you're getting involved in that, you're curating the worst kind of list. If all that I do is curate a list of people that are hyper positive, what kind of clients am I going to have? I have to spend time with y'all, right? So if I'm like, let's get the negative people. Now I'm in this room, I'm like, oh, you know, it's like toxic, poison. So, right, and what do you know about people that trash each other? Like, say that me and you gain energy from trashing him. What happens when he goes away? Then we start fighting. Or if I leave, then y'all start trashing me. That's not the kind of people that's an addiction. People are hooked on that. So you don't want to be around people that are like that. You want to specifically avoid that. So helping an enemy, not feeling the need to respond. You want to know another one that's so massive for me, but that's because I come from a state of non-resistant? Rejection. I get such a high off of rejection. Like when I go to try to meet someone and they're just like, you know, you're a loser, you know, whatever. I get such a high off of that. Half the time I can't wake up to start my night until that's happened. I'm derping around, I get that, and my brain just goes, whoa. It is a great feeling. So let's think about that for a minute. You know another one? Hard work. Hours and hours and hours spent working. Because again, that disconnects you from, or it makes you uncomfortable, which gets you high. So as long as I'm up here, if I keep going and going and going and going, I get more high. I get high off of it. The more, and if I obliterate myself into the dirt, at the end of the night, my voice is like swollen shut. I can barely move, and I'm high off my face. Okay? Go hit up the spa, little cryo, get some herbs in me, anti-inflammatory foods, get a good 8 hours sleep, next day, ready to go. Crank that out for a few days, go home, get some deep, restorative, proactive recovery, good to go again. Beautiful, amazing. You'll get a high off of it. Okay? So anything that gets you connected to discomfort of the ego or discomfort of the body, if you add in non-resistance, you will get a high off of this. And the more that you can find yourself as that, you will act through that, and that is where your genius is going to come from. This is what makes you unstoppable. This is what makes you relentless. This is what makes you world class. Okay? So I'm trying to show you here, for any of you guys here that want to make millions and millions of dollars, for any of you guys here that want to smash it socially, any of y'all here that want to have a great, beautiful life, what I'm trying to show you is how to have energy through that process. Okay? Now, this was a weird thing because everybody around me, like, they think I'm some kind of freak show, basically, right? And the thing that they always say is, but that's just Owen. That's the big excuse. That's the big excuse. That's just Owen. No, that's just you. That's just you. But people think that because the majority are in a stupefied derp state, that that's normal. If you believe for even a minute that normal is to be looked at as the majority, you are very, very, very deceived. You are deceived in ways that you have no idea. That is not normal. That is sick poison. That's where we're at. And once you begin to understand this, once you start seeing this, you can't unsee it. Okay? You can't, it's like when you learn about congruence tests in dating, and you're like, oh, that's what that is. You can't unsee it. So it begins to, it goes into your field of awareness, and you'll see where people are coming from. You'll see the trauma, the pain, the addiction, the wounding. So take this another thought experiment. Imagine that you, okay, like we said at the beginning, life can be a heaven or hell. Imagine that you came from heaven, but you got mad at your father. And you're like, Daddy, I hate you. I'm running away. But the light is so beautiful that if you even look at it, you'll be sucked back. It's so incredibly beautiful. But you hide away on some distant planet. And what you're trying to do, think of it like this. What you're trying to do is you're so afraid of going back because you're like a petulant teenager. I'm not going home. And so literally what you do is it's like you find things to like wrap your, because you're being sucked back. Like if you even look back, you'll get sucked back. It's too beautiful. You won't be able to stop it. So you literally have to like hook yourself in. You're like hooking yourself, like You're like this. And so what you do is you find other co-enablers. Say the word co-enablers. You find other people in that paradigm to feed it, maybe to fight with each other, right? Like how the left and the right fight against each other. That same idea. But, you know, people to fight, people to oppose, ways to be a victim, ways to be trapped in your head, ways to distract yourself, ways to keep yourself from getting present because you want your soul to just stay here. I'm not going home. And you don't resonate with it. You're doing anything that you can not to resonate with how awesome life could be. You're doing everything. And you're attracting other people that will keep you there. You're looking for work, friends, associates, enemies, ego structures, things you're putting in your body, anything to prevent yourself from just looking at those 5 things. Remember, what did we say? Wide, what I say was, from the Bible, wide is the gate that leads to destruction. Narrow, I'm probably misquoting this, narrow is the gate that leads to life. I'll get out the quote. Let's get it.
Salvation or something. Narrow leads to salvation.
Well, it's a lot of translations.
Yeah.
Let's just see.
Let's do Hebrew then.
Okay, I'm working on it. For wide is the gate, and broad is the road that leads to destruction, and many enter through it. But small is the gate, and narrow the road that leads to life, and only a few find it. So in other words, it's those 5 things. Everything else is garbage. Here's why. What you have is something called a misweighting bias. Misweighting bias, say that. Misweighting bias. So in other words, you think that it's okay to waste your time on the crap. Now, to be clear, it's not the end of the world. Certainly not. The world isn't good. The world's not going to explode. But you want to know what I think is the hardest drug to quit? Weed. I grew up around that. I don't think I ever saw somebody quit weed. I saw a lot of people quit crack. I never saw people quit weed. Why don't people quit weed? No urgency. It's not even that bad. Might even be good. I don't know. Might even be good. Just not clear. So nobody quits. Very few. If anybody here ever quit weed? Congrats, guys. Wow. Amazing. What's that? Yeah, you quit after the last event.
I did.
Good job. Give him a hand for that. That you quit. Give a hand to everybody who quit. It's tough. So what happens And that's these little small things. It's the baby stepping. It's the relationship with the person that steals your time, focus, and momentum. You're never able to get in that high momentum state. It's that thing you look at online that wastes your time. It's that thing you're putting in your body that burns down your time. It's this very slow thing. None of these things individually are that bad. None of them. They're not bad. Go trash someone, smoke a joint, fap it, play some video games, eat some Cheetos, look at TikTok. Could even be fun. No, I mean, for real. I don't have a, if you told me you did that, like, I would almost admire you just for going all out. Today's just the crazy day. Okay? I would actually think that's kind of hilarious. Okay? I got no problem with that. I'm not so airtight that I never do anything that's not I do tons of dumb things. But it's not, look, it's not the one thing that you do here or there, or the one slip up, or being judgy, or being like, oh, you're doing that, it's wrong. It's wrong. That's not the issue. It's what you do consistently. Okay, I goof up stuff all the time. Doesn't even matter. Does nothing. Probably be a little better off if I didn't. Sometimes I feel like you got to cut loose. You can be a little too tightly wound. You just got to let yourself have that vice on occasion. Don't have the vice that's gonna, like, you know, don't do meth as your vice or something. You know, unprotected sex with a prostitute or something. You know, like stuff like that. Get HIV. But you know my point, right? You know, jumping in front of cars is a joke. Not that. As long as it doesn't kill you, you can have a little vice here or there. Ideally, you wouldn't. Ideally, you wouldn't. But you're human. It's called being human. So if you slip up here or there, cool, whatever. It's like whatever, right? But the problem is it baby steps you. So what's a little slip up here, it's like that little thing in the video game becomes you just lost a week. There's a game that looks so good, I'm not going to play. It's called Elden Ring. I bet you could play that for a month. Anybody here play Elden Ring? Yeah. How is it? Amazing. I mean, it must be so amazing, yeah. Listen to him. He's like, amazing. He's like... Okay. So, okay. Like, how sick is Elden Ring? It looks so sick. I've seen the... Yeah, it's so... Look at his face. Okay, turn and face the audience right now. Stand up, stand up, stand up. Tell him how sick is Elden Ring.
It's beautiful.
Look at his face. He's even doing the motions. He's even got the hat. So, okay, so, you know, and I wouldn't even have a problem. Look, you want to go blast out Elden Ring for 2 months and you loved it? Great. But I'm just making the point, it's what you consistently do. So what it is that it's a misweighting bias because you're not acknowledging how awesome your life could get if you stayed on point. That's what you're failing to see. So what you haven't done is you haven't laid out all the awesome things that you could do. You haven't laid that out. Part of that is because you don't believe you could do it. That's a big part. You just don't believe you could do it. That's a big, 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 big one. That's huge. You don't think it's possible. Also, like I said, you're miserable most of the time, and when you work, it makes you miserable because you're not gaining energy from work, so that makes it harder too. So that's another big one. That's why I hammered this so hard today. That's another big one. That's huge. Then from there, because you don't repeatedly look at that vision, your attention gets pulled around too easily. Okay? Now, I've seen this with buddies of mine that are in their like around 55. The biggest badasses that I've seen and the biggest derpers are both 55. 55 is a state where you're either the biggest derper on earth or the biggest badass on earth. That's pretty much what happens by 55. Because if you've been living as a derper, you just become the super derper by 55. That's most people. But some people at 55, when they've had their whole life to really get attuned to what it is they want out of life, they're able to see more clearly, this is what I want, this is what I don't want. Okay, I had a lot of mentors that are in their mid-50s, and that was the big thing I noticed from them. It's like say that you said like some BS to them, you're like, this sucks. This is what they look like. It's like consistent across the board, like people in their mid-50s, they're like this. They're like, yeah, sweet. Okay, so let's focus. They just keep bringing it back to winning. That's what they do. But you know why? Because they've seen the waste of time, right? You want to know another thing that happened to me, like by my age now? I just look at all these random people that I talk to, and like these pointless conversations, and the ones that I like are the ones where I had a great outflow of energy and I got everybody laughing. That's amazing. Sure. Or maybe we had an intelligent conversation or a meaningful conversation or just a light conversation, but it was like part of a nice day overall as a part of the experience of being human. That's what I like. But think about every ex that you've had and all the arguments and the crap. Just think of the utter wasted time. Right? How many exes do you have?
How many exes?
Yeah, what'd you say? How old are you now?
I'm 37.
37. How many exes do you have? Speak up.
Yeah, like exes, like.
Ex significant others.
Oh, yeah, probably 10.
10.
Yeah.
Now, if you were to calculate on average, are you single or in a relationship now?
Yeah, I'm single.
Okay, so you're sitting here single now.
Yeah.
So none of those relationships bore children.
No.
None of those relationships that you know of. None of those relationships like had any ultimate destination to them.
No.
What on average of the, okay, so tell me if this resonates with you.
Right.
First, call it 6 months, call it a year, call it 3 months, whatever. Yeah. Epic, 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 getting more epic.
Yeah.
Next chunk, kind of riding off the fumes of how epic it was, but still good. Last third, bad, 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 bad. You ever had that?
Yeah, I've had like longer bads than anything. But yeah.
You hear what he said?
Yeah.
Let me tell you something. Relationships are the ultimate analogy for how this works. I actually have a whole video series coming out about this that I shot all through the Northwest. And I keep coming back to relationships all the time in it, to the point that it actually kind of starts to sound like I'm just whining about a relationship. Like it's like a whole video is just like, relationship. Because the video about it's like a series about endless motivation, but it almost looks like the only solution is just to not to have a girlfriend. But it's such a, but it's like the perfect analogy, and there's not a better analogy, so that's why I kept coming back to it. I actually enjoy relationships, but you know, I kept coming back to it. So I'm a little bit concerned about that. But anyway, so it'll come out soon, like this month. So what happens is, it's like it pulls you in, pulls you in, pulls you in, pulls you in, clink, and then boom. What it does is here's what it does. You remember I said it's like the vine, and you're attaching yourself into the physical, right? So as you're cherishing, loving, stroking, penetrating, coming, maybe they put in you, whatever the case, you know, right? Just messing with you guys. Yeah, I'm not that kinky. But anyway, so it's like, you know, and you're going in it, right? So it's disconnecting you from your present state because you're getting energy from that, right? And that could be a beautiful thing, actually. But what happens is that as you go in it, just like a drug addiction, you can't pull yourself out. So in the breakup, you can't even manage your own happiness oftentimes. It's entrained you to gain fulfillment and identity from the relationship. This energy, in my view, has its own consciousness, but again, I'm not trying to get I'll kind of just throw these lobs of mud out there of these like totally outlandish things. I don't want you to agree. Like if I'm like, this energy has its own intelligence, right? I don't want you to be like, yeah, like that. Don't do that. Like just be like, okay, I'll be open-minded. I don't know. You know what I'm saying? That's what I do when I read stuff. I'm not like, oh, it says here. Just says here. Ah, okay. So because I cover a lot of broad subject matter, find the other video where I give an explanation for it, okay? Because otherwise I'm gonna have to re-explain every little thing. But I believe it has its own intelligence. And I believe what it's doing is it has this big payoff on the front end. And what happens is that this is like you're like a membrane, and that's like the spike protein, and it goes like that. Is that how spike protein works? I might have just made this up. Anyway, so it goes like that, lets it in, and then it dumps the payload. It dumps the payload of trauma. Do you feel that after the average relationship, you're more enhanced from it, more present, more alive, or do you feel gutted?
Yeah, I feel lifted after the relationship, and I come
Once you've cut it, yes. But do you feel gutted by the process of all the negativity towards the tail end?
Yeah, and I try to like figure out if like I'm just trying to quit something or if I should work.
And that's the sad part, isn't it?
Yeah.
But all that promise. That's one of the saddest part about a breakup is all that promise and watching it go down the drain. But what you don't realize is you have a trauma, they have a trauma, they have the way to traumatize you, and you inadvertently have the way to traumatize them. That could be, for example, you have good boundaries, and they have an abandonment trauma. So you have good boundaries, they have an abandonment trauma, you're the perfect person to connect with, right? And so what happens is that you think you're attracted due to this commonality that you have. And it could be true, too. It's not all one thing. But it can also be that you're trying to put a trauma payload into each other. So think about this for a minute, okay? How many years of your life have you wasted? Like, how many years of your life would you say you've been in relationships at this point?
You know, actually not many. Maybe like a total of like 5 or 6 years.
5 or 6 years. Now, out of that 5 or 6 years, how much of it was like the good part and how much of it was the bad part?
Yeah.
We'll call it 5. Keep it round number.
Yeah, sure. I would say like 1 out of those 5 years.
1 out of 5. I think a lot of you have had that. I think it's very common. Very common. Like a drug addict, the good part's on the front. Same thing. So, you know, like when you started wasting your time on something, same idea. You're chasing the dragon. So what happens is, how many years have you burnt down? Right? How many years have you burnt down? Now, there's another thing too. It's called escalating investment. As you try to fix it, you don't want to leave because you have sunk cost bias. Say the word escalating investment. Escalating investment. And louder, say sunk cost bias. Sunk cost bias. Yeah, so you don't want to get out. Because then what would all the point of the fighting have been? It's like you climb this mountain together, the trauma bonding. So a lot of what you're experiencing in life, like when I really stopped and did an audit of my life by 40, and I look at all these people that I work with, and it was really fun at the start, and they got hella negative by the end, or these different relationships I had that were really fun at the start, hella negative at the end, or different ventures that I started that were fun at the start and negative at the end, that's most of what life is. So you've got to ask yourself, do you resonate with that? Now I'll tell you a little story that I've told before. I remember when I finally nailed this, when I finally got it down, although I later slipped back. I met someone incredible, beautiful, incredible, and at the end of every day, we used to go jump in the bath together, just like a fun thing to do. I like to hook up, like everybody, but that's already guaranteed. So at the end of the day, we just go hop in the bath, end of the day. We throw on like a little bit of candle, you know, salt lamp, throw on some music, and we would just sit there and joke around. That's living. That's living. Joking, being on each other's team, having fun. That's the point. That's the whole point. That simple thing is the whole point. The ability to go to a park and enjoy it. That's the point. It's not the Rolls Royce at the end. Because if you can't enjoy the park, you're not going to enjoy the Rolls Royce. At least not forever. You know how it is. You get a TV, it's bigger, it's a higher resolution. For like a week, you just stare, you're like, are you seeing this? This is sick. I can't stop looking at this. 4K. As if, you know, at one point we cared, right? Look at the 4K. 8K now, I guess. 65 inches. The old one is 55 inches. After about a week, do you care at all? Maybe a month. You don't care. Oh, try moving in a big mega mansion. I've lived in an $80,000 a month mansion. You get in there, you're like, look at this. This could be our home. Look at the parties we could do here. Do you know how easy it is? I shared that with a buddy. I watched him and his woman savage each other, screaming at each other, throwing things at each other, going crazy. Didn't matter. You could live in heaven, but live in hell at the same time. Didn't matter. So understand that heaven is a state of mind. Heaven is a state of your energy. Heaven is a state of your focus. Heaven is a state of gratitude, not victimhood. Heaven is a state of abundance, not lack. Heaven is a state of being at the cause, not the effect. So what you'll see is, you know, by the time you hit my age, you just begin to realize all these pointless conversations that you've had. All these rabbit holes that you went down to that didn't yield anything. You want to know what it usually looks like? It's usually like one thing in 20 that you did, if you're lucky, yielded anything. Okay, this is an incredibly rude expression. I apologize, but it's just what comes in my mind. I call the rest of it aborted fetuses. Aborted fetuses. What I mean by that is like it's this thing, this life that's growing and dies on the vine. That'd be probably a better way to put it. Less shocking. Dies on the vine. Yeah. It just dies on the vine. Right? What is actually, you've got to start auditing, what do I actually want? What do I want out of life? What does my ideal life look like? Is this getting me there? Is this person acting in good faith? Is this person contributing to my positivity? Is this person, and here's the main things. It's either educating you, making you laugh and have fun and making you happy or fulfilled or whatever, present, whatever you want to call it. Is it moving your life forward? Is it moving you towards the life that you want? But it's like I said, if you live in LA and you can't go see the General Sherman, and even if you do go, you're staring at your frickin' phone, how are you going to enjoy it when you get to what you really want? How many people that you think that I coach one-on-one, mega rich, that are miserable? It's a state of consciousness. Half my job during COVID was just deprogramming millionaires and billionaires not to be unhappy. That's where a lot of my content comes from, is watching this. Incredibly unhappy. Because the thing that got them there, the striving, means they can never arrive. What would an arrival state look like to you? What would that look like? What would it look like to genuinely arrive? When is the last time you were genuinely happy? When is the last, like, when does it, do you remember I said earlier, when does it start? When does life start? That's why I decided to just go skiing the whole winter, this winter. I was like, when does it start? When is the year I just spend the whole winter skiing? When does it start? Now, you know what I found when I did that? It was really, 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 really hard to find anybody to do it with me.
True.
Amazingly hard. Whether rich friends or poor. They don't want to go. They're going to do it later. Okay, start of the ski season. Hey, we're going to go skiing this winter. Who wants to go? What do you think everybody says? Yeah. Everybody wants to go. None went. Everybody I knew want to go. None went. I had staff members that I dragged there shoot videos. By the end of it, they're kind of mad at me. Dude, this is too crazy.
Too much skiing, bro.
Yeah, that's what it was, though. Yeah. They had other reasons. I'm teasing them. So, point being is, it's to the point, it's like they're not ready to arrive. The idea, you want to know why I took a whole winter to ski? To train myself to arrive. That sounds weird, right? Like, that's a heck of a homework assignment. It's a heck of a homework assignment, isn't it? I'm like, no, I'm going to train myself to arrive. You've got to train yourself to really enjoy life. You've got to train your psyche to let the wind land. You've got to train your energy level to resonate with the things that will help you. You've got to train it. Why can no one in LA, or very few people, go up to see the General Sherman? They don't resonate with it. Look, let me say this, okay? I was in New York City, and I was in a lot of poor areas. And I drove up to Maine, Acadia in Maine. Anyone here ever been to Acadia, Maine? Anybody here ever been to Kennebunkport, where like the Bushes live? The actual drive time, and I'll check it right now, from New York City to Kennebunkport. Let's see what that is. Kennebunkport is one of the most peaceful cities you'll ever go to. It's like the definition of arriving in many ways. Okay, so I'm going to put NYC, and then I'm going to put Kennebunkport. Probably about 4 or 5 hours. Let's see. It said 4 days. That's walking. Yeah, 4 hours, 50 minutes. Okay. You know what's weird? Okay, let this land for a minute. Focus on this. I'm in New York, and I'm going through some very, very poor areas. And you can see the density of the energy. I have great empathy for the people that live there, the people that grew up there. 5 hours away is like kind of like a heaven on earth. You just drive 5 hours. 5 hours away. But it's a million years away. It's a million years away. It's got a wall. It's an energetic wall. It's an energetic wall. Somebody who is accustomed to chaos, to go there, it's not a match. It's not a match. Okay?
Use the here example. Big Sur. 3 hours.
Great example here. He's got me.
It's a better example because there's no cell service. So you get stuck. I actually just went.
Yeah.
You get stuck
I did too.
in this, like, I went because of you.
Thank you. Yeah.
You get forced to, like, really, you can't use your phone.
Yeah, it's so sick too. It's so sick. So think about that. You could be, I have friends that grew up in poverty in the Bay Area. Big Sur is 3 hours away. But you'll always have an excuse not to go to Big Sur. You'll always, guys, it's not about Big Sur. Yeah. This isn't like the Big Sur seminar. The General Sur, like people like, they're like, is that what this is? I mean, maybe a bit, but you know, right? But that's not the end point I'm making. It's the arriving seminar. It's training your mind to say, I just want to be happy. I just want to be rich. I want to have great people. I don't want to have idiots around me. I wish them the best. I am kind of one of them, but I'm trying to go in a different direction. It's a decision to say that. When you have a significant other that's deeply in your ecosystem that is always creating chaos, the first thing that you should do is ask yourself how you're contributing to it and take ownership of your side. But if you've truly done that, you've talked to them, and you can't get them on the same page, what does it mean when you choose to continue being around them?
You accept it.
It's an addiction.
Yeah.
It means that's normal to you. Okay? It means it's absolutely normal to you. So it's the denormalization process of scarcity. It is the denormalization process of victimhood. It is the denormalization process of being at the effect. And it's normalizing joy, normalizing having access to your will, access to your discernment, access to flow, access to expansion, access to abundance. It's renormalizing that. What this is going to do, again, we call this endless motivation. It's going to allow you, in many, many different ways, it's going to allow you to make that normal. The problem is, with a lot of entrepreneurship, for example, is that you get tired when you get the things that would give you peace. It actually feels uncomfortable. Just like the person in a poor area of New York, and what winds up happening is if you brought them to Kenny, go to Kenny Bunkport next time you're in New York, or go to Big Sur while you're down here. Go to Clint Eastwood was the mayor of there. It's called Carmel by the Sea. Who here's ever been there? Go drive around that. The brain can't watch how as you go there you stare at your phone. Watch how as you go there you start crap talking your friends. Watch how as you go there you start talking about things that frustrated you. It's taking you out of your comfort zone and it's putting you in, it's depriving the oxygen of the addiction. It's an addiction that you have. It's a drug addiction. It's you not wanting to go home. It's you having a temper tantrum. It's you saying, I'm not going home, Daddy. I hate you. And it's like, but look, Carmel by the Sea. I hate Carmel by the Sea. Look, total abundance in dating. I hate total abundance in dating. Look, money everywhere. Easy ways to make money. I hate money. Look, a park. I hate the park. Look, happiness. I hate happiness. Look at the nice view. I hate the view. What do you like? My phone. It's true. Everybody laughs because it's true. So notice where and look at where your awareness is being absorbed. It's just being highly, highly absorbed into egoic consciousness, physical consciousness, absorbed in scarcity, absorbed with being at the effect, absorbed with victimhood, absorbed with cheap, easy dopamine spikes like trashing people, absorbed with just getting stimulation, absorbed. You're in a trap. You have the boot on your neck. There's a boot on your neck. Imagine in your mind that there's some creepy little enemies that feed on fear, feed on division, feed on anger, feed on sadness, feed on you being small. They want to chew you and eat you. They want to eat your freaking soul for breakfast, for real. Imagine that as a thought experiment. They want to eat your core essence until by the time you're 55, you look like an emptied out husk. A shell of your former self, emptied out, living in smallness, autopilot, contraction, egoic consciousness, just chasing a little crumb. So the answer out of this, in my view, is you've got to say to yourself, I want to pick something. I want to choose something that is meaningful to me, that is beautiful. You've got to start creating your life. And a big thing that you can do is you can start really fleshing out how awesome it would be. Now, by the way, that's also awesome on the way there. Because the other thing to do is to begin to curate the state of consciousness that you want. Begin curating that. What is the state of consciousness that you want to live in as you get there? How do you cultivate a beautiful state? So begin to cultivate, look at that as well, okay? And what will happen is you want to get rid of the misweighting bias. Say, get rid of. It's getting late, do it louder. Get rid of, the misweighting bias. Get rid of, the misweighting bias. Get rid of, the misweighting bias. Okay, good. So in other words, as you're getting this crap put in your face, start to ask yourself, what is this costing me? And anytime you slip up, it's not like, let's not play like preachy, like 80s conservative, like judgy style here. I'm not about that. You're allowed to goof up. I know that when we're talking about a higher aspiration, it's like, no, I don't even want to right now. Like right now when I say you're allowed to goof up, do you almost feel like I don't even want to? Anybody here ever, I can feel the energy in the room a bit. That's because in this seminar, we got you on frickin' point, okay? This is the indoctrination. So I'm indoctrinating you on positivity, and so you're not even resonating with goofing up. Here's the problem. What do we know from a night of going out when you kill it? What happens when you wake up the next day? Do you wake up in state? No, you go back to your default. So I can ramp you up. That's kind of my job. I'm good at that. I've done this a long time. But it doesn't matter that you're in this mode now. I can familiarize you with it while you're here, but you'll go back in the state. Remember I gave you the example of, I had my buddy who I took hiking, right? Remember I gave that example in the last segment? I had a buddy, I took him hiking, he got in a good state, and then later he's like, I hate you, I hope you die, I hope your children die, all that stuff. Yeah. Because he went back to his default. The demon came back. So right now, another exercise that you could do is almost like you're on a psychedelic odyssey right now. One thing that I see, you're like, yeah, I say psychedelic, he's like, okay? Okay, what I want you to do is, okay, the big thing they do after a psychedelic odyssey is that you write down what you learned, like some people would say like right after, right? If you've seen those ayahuasca ceremonies, they get together after. You don't just do it and be like, wah, and go home, right? You do what's called the integration step, okay? So what I'd like you to do, I'm gonna get you all together, okay? It's running a little late right now, let's see what it is. It's like, it's getting up there, but we have time. We're gonna do at least one more segment after this, maybe two, but at least one. Stay is my best advice for you. Now, what's gonna happen is, I want you to write down, first of all, fresh in your mind, whatever epiphanies that you're having just off the top of your head. Like things that right now are so clear to you and you don't want to forget later. And later when you kind of come out of like this froth that we've built up and you come out of it, you're like, oh yeah, and you can remember the clarity. So write that down now as I'm trying to feed you with the energy as much as I'm able to, okay? By the way, as I proceed through this event, in order to maintain energy, I have to try less. Another key piece right there. I have to try less. If I try more, I burn out. If I try less, I can keep going. Big tip right there. You have to try less. I have to try less to get my voice out like that, okay? Can't, at home, it caps the mic. But, okay, I have to try less. That's a big seminar teaching trick. Try less as you get deeper into it. Remember I said you get high off really long work? It's because you try less. You think less, you try less. If I start thinking right now as I'm speaking, I'm gonna burn out. If I start trying to control my voice will go out. Do you guys know I'm not mic'd right now? I'm only mic'd in the camera. There's no speakers in the room. If there is, I'm not using them. Well, there's a speaker there. Okay, well, I'm not connected to them. I swear. Look, okay, I'm not, that's actually very nice. I should be using this, but I'm not. I use them sometimes, but I'm not using it today. So I'm not connected on a speaker. What does my voice sound like at the back? Crisp, easy to hear. I've got to try less, okay? Try less. That's what I was saying. More work. It gets you in a state where to survive it, you try less. That's the real beauty is who you become through this process, okay? So write down 3 things. And what we'll do, I'll have you do 3 things, and I'll let you take a little break. But I want you to write down, we'll do like how long of a break do you want? 15? 20?
15.
10?
10, 15.
Okay, we'll call it 10, it'll be 15. Okay, so take this short break, okay? You have me here, I'm gonna crush it for you guys, okay? We're gonna keep going down the rabbit hole. What I want you to do in the next 10 minutes, first of all, give me a real break. I'm gonna gather myself, get a real break. So what's gonna happen is I want you to, first of all, write down any epiphany, just things on your mind right now as I'm walking you through this little odyssey, okay? Speeches like this, I have different types of speeches, okay? In my mentoring courses or my trainings, I tend to make them very step-by-step, very straightforward, and very results-oriented. In the free events, I like to just kind of flow. I like to just riff. It's sort of a different art form. It's like the art form of like a paid program is like making it very structured, step-by-step, this result. That's like a paid thing. In my free ones, the art form is what's called free associative speaking. Do you guys realize I'm just free associating up here? This is me riffing. This is like jazz. I'm just like, I'm just having fun. I'm just like, right? Sure. Think about this. This isn't prepped. I've covered these ideas, but it's not prepped. Okay, it's free associative speaking. It's a different type of art form. It's meant to be an energetic transfer, and it's meant to be an odyssey of the mind. You guys enjoying being this kind of odyssey of the mind right now?
Yeah.
It's an interesting feeling, isn't it, right? It's an interesting feeling. I'm like the shaman. I'm taking you down in the rabbit hole, okay? And it's a powerful experience to be here. At home, you kind of get it. When you're here, it goes deep, and it's going to get more deep. We're just scratching the surface. So we're going to go a lot more deep. So I've had rooms in tears, crying, minds like that. Maybe we'll do it. We'll see. So what I want you to do is write down any epiphanies that you have right now, just based on what I'm saying. Then what I want you to do is I want you to write down what it is that you want out of life results-wise. What is the exact life that you want? The other thing that I want you to do is I want you to write down the exact state of consciousness that you want, that you'd be the most empowered by to take action to get to this point. Okay, what would be the state of mind that would get you to this point? And to hold as a standard. Then what I want you to do is I want you to write down how bad life's going to get if you don't do this. Okay? As a leverage. Okay. So begin to write this down. Go into groups, okay? Hop into groups. Hop in groups of, say, 2 or 3 or 4 people beside you, okay? And I want you to just freaking crank this out.